are so glad that you tuned in for today's episode of Ops for Vets. Thank you for logging in. Um, Now's a great time to send text messages and notes to your friends to make sure that they join us today. I'm Tracey Lawrence. I'm your host. I'm the president of Heis, Surety and Insurance Services, and we specialize in bonds for government contractors, bid bonds, performance bond, payment bonds, maintenance bonds. We help solve bond problems. If ever you're in the government contracting space and you're doing construction and you need some help with bonding, I hope you'll think of me and send me an email. I'm Tracy at heisurety.com. That's TRACEY at heisurety.com. HEISSURETY.com. Before we dive in with today's show, I have a special announcement I'd like to make. You've heard me say it last month, the prior month. We are still very excited about the DGS Cal eProcure Clinic, which is a major feature of our 14th annual Small Business Summit. Now, I'm hoping that you guys have already registered either as an attendee or an exhibitor, but you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the event. It's October 16th and registration is open. The DGS Clinic is a hands-on workshop that has a one-of-a-kind opportunity to have one-on-one, face-to-face contact with a DGS outreach business liaison. You can review things like your certification profile. You can learn how to optimize that profile, and then you can discover new ways to connect with procurement opportunities. Now, if that doesn't get you excited, I'm going to say it again. New ways to connect to procurement opportunities. Okay, whether you're just starting your certification journey or looking to sharpen your profile, the DGS Clinic is designed to set small businesses up for success, to set us up for success. Remember, registration for the trade show is now open at swvbrc.org /annual business summit. It's free to attend, and early bird pricing for exhibitors may still be open. Okay, now, Ops for Vets is about handshakes, not handouts. And we have a lifetime member that we'd like to feature this morning so that we all can become aware of his company, the products he offers, because we're promoting these businesses. We are giving them a chance to connect with those of you out there that might need them. So with that in mind, I am going to introduce Kelly Kendall. Kelly Kendall is the CEO and president of KNC Strategic Services. He's an executive, a consultant, a military veteran with extensive background of over 28 years of experience in management, consulting, sales, marketing, and information technology. He's got a whole quiver of knowledge and skills that he is willing to share with you. Kelly is an entrepreneur, a professional musician, a technology geek with a unique sense of humor and quick wit. His service programs at his company are called the Red, White, and Blue Glove Service. He is an advocate. Doesn't that make him a great fit for this show? And with that, Kelly, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks
Please.
for the great intro, Tracy. I appreciate it, and thanks for the opportunity to be here and speak with everybody. So, as you mentioned, my name is Kelly Kendall, CEO and President here at KNC Strategic Services. And just to give you an idea about who we are and what we do and what we've been doing, we've been around for a little over 7 years now. We're a cybersecurity services provider down here in the Carlsbad, California area. And within cybersecurity, which is a broad umbrella, we do cybersecurity consulting. On the consulting side, we do a lot of what we call governance, risk, and compliance consulting, which is consulting based on certain regulatory or legal frameworks, things like a program called CMMC, which you can see on my slide here about us. You'll hear me talk about CMMC a lot. We are heavily involved in that space. I'll speak more about that in a minute. Other frameworks like NIST, CSF, CIS, and other compliance frameworks like that we work heavily with. So we do a lot of the compliance consulting. We also do consulting in virtual CISO services. We do consulting in incident response, risk management, and many other areas that are in that cybersecurity typical umbrella. We do that a lot for city governments as virtual CISOs, and we work a lot with defense contractors, which is probably half of our business is working with small business to medium business defense contractors, either helping them prepare for CMMC or helping them actually be assessed, because we are one of the very few authorized what's called a C3PAO, which is a CMMC third-party assessment organization. And we are the only one in California still, which is scary because there's a lot of companies that need to get these assessments done. So we are one of the official assessors and have been doing assessments since they started at the beginning of this year. So you're probably wondering, if you don't know what the heck CMMC is and you haven't heard about it, then at least now you know how to spell it. No, I'm kidding. Like I said, stupid jokes, that's what I'm all about. No, CMMC is called the, oh, wow, I haven't even thought about the abbreviation in this. It's so long, that's pretty funny. Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And this is a requirement of defense contractors that is in the process of being rolled out. There's two rules that are involved in it. One started in December of last year. One is coming out later this year. Once both of those have been fully rolled out, then defense contractors that are doing work with the DoD will be required to have either a level 1 self-assessment, a self-certification, if you will, or a level 2 third-party assessment conducted by a C3PO, which is us. So it's in process. It's not in contracts now. It will be in contracts soon in the form of a self-assessment for the first year. When they roll it out, it's a slow rollout, but it will become a requirement. So it's the future of DoD contracting. If you deal with anything called controlled unclassified information, if you touch CUI or CUI, if you think you're cool, we say CUI, but if you touch CUI at all, then you will have to have a level 2 certification and that level 2 third-party assessment done.
And can you help the people, the defense contractors that are on this show with us? Can you help them with that?
I can, absolutely. We have been doing that for over 5 years now. We've done a lot of the consulting work and preparation work, implementing full cybersecurity programs from scratch to assessment ready, if you will. We worked with, let's see, manufacturers, technology, software, aerospace, transportation, and many, many others. And so we're very adept at it. We've got a great kind of a structured process to take a company through to help them get ready.
What's the best way for someone that's listening to you today? What's the best way for them to reach out to you for maybe a consultation or information about your services?
I'll make it really easy. Let me just tap my screen over here and get to the next slide, and voila. So the best ways to reach out to us, one, you can always email me. You can call us. My extension's on the phone there. My business partner, Chuck Bresh, he's up in the Anaheim area. You can call us, email us, smoke signal us, whatever it is, however you want to contact us. We're more than happy to spend some time chatting with you about where you're at, what you're doing, whether you need some consulting help, whether you need the assessment, whatever it is. We are CMMC experts, and we're heavily involved in the community of CMMC. I'm jokingly starting to call myself the voice of CMMC in the West, because there's not a lot of awareness in the West about this. We had an event about 3 weeks ago that we called the CMMC West Summit down here in San Diego. And if any of you got my email invitations for it, sorry if I was being annoying. If you didn't get them, that's okay. But I sent out a lot of them. So it was a great event. We had about 40 people there, and we're going to keep doing it every year. We'll do our next one in January. So we're really trying to push hard to get good information out, because there's a lot of misinformation. So we're trying to be really active in this West community, if you will.
Excellent. Well, hopefully you're going to be an exhibitor at the summit. Hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but kind of.
I'll be there. Absolutely.
All right. And for all of, thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing with us. For all of those DoD contractors that are on this webinar, or businesses that endeavor to do business with the Department of Defense, you need to reach out to Kelly and get the conversation started. And I'm going to throw something else in there that you might find kind of interesting. For those of you that are prime contractors, you may have your pathway to a successful assessment all planned, but do your subcontractors have their pathway? And if you're not 100% sure that your subcontractors or subconsultants have their pathway clear, you still need to call Kelly because maybe he can help you come up with something for those other subconsultants and subtrades beneath you who also need to comply, even though they're not contracting directly with the Department of Defense. Right, Kelly?
Oh, that is so true. The subcontractor issue is huge. We're very aware of it. It goes down to the smallest one person, doesn't matter what you are, shop, the same requirements for everybody, the largest prime down to the smallest sub.
All right. It would be great if everyone that's on our show, that's watching our show, it would be compliant, ready, doing amazing things, and Kelly's helping us get there. Thanks again, Kelly. Thank you for sharing KNC Strategic Services with us. Thank you for being a lifetime member of Ops for Vets.
Absolutely.
All
Thank you for
right.
having me.
Okay, everyone that's logged on, if you have the ability to, tell us where you are and who you are in the chat. If you have any questions, we're going to use the chat so that we can get you some answers today. If you just want to say hello to everyone that's watching the show, send me your name of your business, and I will do some shout outs along the way. All right, now we're going to move on to Josh Kress and the California Department of General Services. Woo woo! Hey Josh, welcome to the show.
Tracey, how are you doing?
I'm fine. All right, so let me do a little intro. Okay. Josh Kress joined DGS in the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises as a business outreach liaison in May of last year. In this role, he educates business owners about the benefits and opportunities of pursuing the small business certification, the disabled veteran business enterprise certification, and contract opportunities here with the state of California. I love when we say contract opportunities. That's like I think that might be my love language. Prior to that, Josh owned a small business from 2018 to 2023 in the restaurant industry, navigating the effects of COVID, beginning halfway through his second year in business. Wow. While owning the business, he was also a national sales and marketing director in the private sector. Prior to that, he's worked for the state of California for 10 years as a supervising prison cook with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations. For his last 8 years, he was with Caltrans in various positions. Josh's time with Caltrans had him managing an administrative office, managing resources for a statewide division, acting as an assistant resident engineer, being the field inspector and project manager for small construction projects in Monterey County. 2 years as an outdoor advertising field inspector, and finishing creating online project management courses while he was earning his own PMP certification. Josh believes in the OSDS mission. All right, small businesses, that is for us, right? That is for us, so us, and us. And the value of providing information and resources so that we can maximize truly take advantage of the opportunities available in our own state. And with that, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I definitely need to lighten up that bio. That's so much. Um, well, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is our third level presentation, the last of our three-part series that we're doing here. This is called Contracting with the State, California State Government. It's going to be one of those mornings. Let's get moving. All right, so we're going to go over how the state buys, acquisition methods, leverage purchase agreements, solicitation formats, commercially useful function, and I'll go over resources. So how does the state buy? It expends public funds. We follow rules, regulations, and laws that are there. And what happens is it results in a specific process for purchasing, which we call the procurement process. So we just can't go, I want to buy, widget X. Let's buy it. And then we just hand them cash or whatever else. There is definitely paperwork and there's a process and bidding and all of that. And the response to every question I get about specific procurements or types or everything else is it depends. So remember that as we go through this, and you're thinking maybe of a situation you're in already, or you might have, keep in mind, like every situation is different. It depends on sometimes materials, dollar amounts, deliveries, access to vendors, all of that. So it's not a one size fit all approach. So knowing broadly how things work really helps so you'll at least know how to navigate and go into the right direction. All right, so we're looking at last fiscal year. The year prior, I just changed these images from mine. The year prior, we had spent $16 billion in total contracts. This last fiscal year, so that was 22-23, this 23-24 fiscal year, it was 13.35. So we definitely saw a reduction in state spending. But we actually saw an increase of percentage of contract dollars. So last year was, the last fiscal year prior was 25.3 and percent, and now we have 26.58% of all contract dollars were with certified small businesses. That comes out to a total of 3.55 billion. And then with DVBEs, which definitely we're looking at with this group, 4.69% of all contract dollars were spent. Our goal or our mandate now, it's actually law, is 3%. So almost 2 whole% over the goal. And for small business, it's 25. So over, 1.5%. So 625.8 million was spent specifically with just DVBEs in contract dollars. We did another 875 million in emergency contracts, which is a whole other can of worms we'll get into. Okay. So in the procurement process, and I myself had done some purchasing and then managed some procurement analysts. And so again, that it depends rings really, really true for me because it was never the same situation and never the same process, even when buying the same stuff, but just a year later. So buyers on our side, we have to determine the authority and need. So the authority is granted by DGS for a department to purchase for themselves, or DGS if a department is too small or has misbehaved too much. Our department can actually take back that purchasing authority, and all purchases have to be done through us. So making sure that there's authority to purchase and then need to purchase. So a lot of times it is a need is apparent, but maybe it's not budgeted, and that also falls under the authority to spend on those flavors of dollars. Everything is predetermined from the prior year. We submit requests, they get approved, and it's put in the state budget where it goes and gets passed by assembly and Senate, all that. So you can't it's not like we can just go, hey, we have $1 million in personnel dollars that we're not spending. Let's spend that on new vehicles instead. We have to do a whole budget change proposal, things like that. It's a year to 2 year process for budget change proposals like that. It's really, really slow. So yeah, there's sometimes we have a need, but we can't actually fulfill it because it's not budgeted. We have to work for emergency authority at that point. Type of acquisition, is it going to be an LPA, a leverage purchase agreement? Is it going to be a fair and reasonable? Depending, and that all depends on again price and other things like that. And then solicitation format. So different types of solicitations for different types of procurements. So different acquisition methods. We have formal, informal, competitive. That's usually, hey, formal is we put out a solicitation. Informal is for procurements usually under 250,000, could be up to 400 where they're not actually advertised, but the buyer's reaching out to vendors, usually through Cali Procure, finding certified smaller DVBEs to see if they'll bid for their need for their scope or whatever else. There's also the SBDVB option, which often supersedes a lot of procurement methods because we want we want money spent with SBs and DVBs versus larger companies, and so we'll go that route. There's fair and reasonable, emergency contracting, and leverage purchase agreements. All right, formal and formal competitive. Competitive bidding, typically it's a written solicitation. So a lot of times they're like, hey, do you guys sell this and this? Yeah, you can get what's your usual turnaround time? Cool. All right, liked your profile on Cali Procure. Let me send you our cut sheet, or let me send you the scope of work, or an email with what's going on. And sometimes it's as simple as that. So really making sure you answer your phone, have good emails going for contact is very important. So that's typical. Sometimes it's over the phone, like, hey, I need this, this, and this. Can you shoot me a quote? Here's my email address. They're usually advertised, like I said, unless they're under 250,000, which there's a lot of that. So you're wondering, a lot of times you'll ask, where's that secret marketplace? Where are all these contracts that I see people getting, or I know people are getting, but then I'm not seeing them posted. Well, that's because they're under those thresholds and they don't have to be posted. So they go to informal bidding where they're reaching out to vendors directly. And then we usually go for a low cost or best value evaluation. So sometimes it's lowest bidder. Sometimes we have to also fold in value if it's not a tangible. Sometimes if it's a service, we have to then determine, okay, price is a factor. And then also, are we going to get what we need from the vendor? Did they fully address our scope? So the SBDVB option, procurements up to from 5,000 to 249,999 and 99 cents, or 461,000 for public works projects because they're a little bigger, lower margin. For those, only certified SBs and DVBEs are eligible. So people purchasing now knowing they're learning about Cali Procure on their end, a lot of these buyers. And so they're going, oh, yeah, this is $100,000 contract. I'm just going to do the SVDVB option. It's the fastest, easiest because I could just go and make some calls and get it. And because it only requires two quotes from two SBs or two DVBEs, cannot mix and match. So like one SB or a DVBE, you're choosing which route you want to go. The buyer is, or maybe there's a mandate because of the type of work, things like that. It could be awarded to the lowest bidder. It could be advertised. So may or may not. Again, it could be value based. It could be price based. Usually there's an indication on that. Fair and reasonable. This is our fastest way of acquisition. It's under 10,000, commonly used for minor procurements with a short timeline. So this is sometimes you may have heard of CalCard, which is our credit card. Some procurement officers have a CalCard where they can get the bid, they'll get a couple bids, and then they'll go, okay, let's go and give you a credit card number. A lot of times that's not always the case. So we'll do like a mini contract, which is a fair and reasonable, and it's a much more streamlined and simple process. Buyers only need one quote for these. So as long as we think it's fair and reasonable, we can go to the first vendor that responds. That sounds like someone we want to work with. A lot of times there's various methods to determine fair and reasonable pricing. Usually we get additional quotes, is the safest way to show that we're getting into, right in the ballpark. And then we're going with this company because X, Y, Z. When a lot of times it is awarded to the lowest bidder, we have to really show justification for not choosing the lowest bidder. we still want to save the money save money for the state as much as possible. And so we have to justify why are we going with maybe the second lowest bidder. And we can go, okay, they didn't have this product, their shipping time's questionable, yada yada. And again, these aren't advertised. The buyers are calling. This is why it's so important to get your certification so you're listed on Cali eProcure. Emergency contracting. This is the fun one. It's usually a response to natural disasters and other emergencies. The state is acting quickly. Sometimes it's a phone call in the middle of the night saying, "Hey, do you have 50 porta potties that can be down here in, the Palisades, by tomorrow?" And I heard an example from LA County a couple weeks ago where they called through Cali Procure. They were using because they were having a hard time finding vendors, and they found someone in San Francisco who's like, "Yeah, we can truck it down overnight. We'll get there." And the deal's over the phone. We're acting quickly. We're not advertising. We purchase a bunch of different goods and services. It'll be listed on the application if there's a category, and if what you're selling is not in that category, don't pick one so you can be in there. We'll weed you out and blacklist you. Like, you don't want to be on that. If it's not on there, that means we're not buying that on an emergency basis, and that is okay. You don't want to misrepresent yourself. And we have the SB DVB emergency registry, and it's only SBs and DVBs who are on this list who had registered once they have their certification, where buyers on for emergency operations for different departments and such will go to that registry to call down vendors. What I will say with that, this is a little off script. When you do register for anything, when they're asking for descriptions of your business, product, service, be specific. You're a water trunk company. You rent out trucks and crews to maybe move dirt or something else. Put down how many trucks, what are their volumes, what are their turnaround times, how many people on crew do you have, what shifts can be worked, are you a 24-hour, are you able to work 16 hours, things like that. Put that in your description, spell it all out. Anytime you can describe a service, you want to be doing that so you make sure a buyer has all their questions answered, or as many questions as possible. They're going to use someone who they feel more confident with right off the bat because you've already educated them so much about your business versus someone who said, we have water trucks, we can work fast. So keep that in mind when anytime, not just the registry, but whenever you're describing to yourself on some kind of registry or like the database or like Cali Procure, putting in your keywords, you want to make sure you're hitting anything and everything that somebody might be needing or looking for that you provide, not just broad words or statements. So here's some of the categories: base camp operations, debris removal, facilities maintenance, repair. That happens a lot. That's a really good one to get into as a general contractor. Fire protection, information technology, logistics, transportation, medical, roadway maintenance, traffic control. So many different ones. Stuff that we need yesterday when an emergency occurs. To register, you'll need your certification number, emergency categories. You'll pick from a list, description of your products and services, as I described, your business address, a good one to send like your checks to so you can get paid, and then contact information, primary and emergency. So you make sure you're listing the primary or emergency one for that's available for 24 hours, like and on a 24-hour basis, either if it's an operations manager or if it's you, things like that. You want someone who is able to pick up that phone at any time, because that could be the difference between nothing or a missed call and a $100,000 contract that is very lucrative because they need it again yesterday. All right. Do we have any questions so far? Let me do a caveat that have to do with the section we have just covered, not outside of the scope of this.
Okay, in that case, we do have a question, but I'm going to wait till we get to.
Any questions that are not in topic, we'll save till the end, and I'll have a little more broad Q&A. Beyond that, And if it's specific to a contract you have, I'm not going to be the one who can answer it. Keep that in mind. I can't see your questions or anything, so but I'm just guessing from my experience in past past times. Everyone always has a question about something they're having with their contract, and I'm not the person. The contract manager is. All right, so we're good.
We're good. Thank
We'll
you.
keep on keeping on. There we go. Now, leverage purchase agreements or LPAs. They're agreement between the state and a business for a specific good or service that many state departments use. Sometimes we'll make those available to counties, cities, and other schools so they essentially piggyback our LPA because they already know things have been negotiated, there's pricing, all of that. It's a known quantity. So a lot of times that'll be helped. It's awarded for $0. It is not a guarantee, I will tell you. Everyone thinks getting a CMAS or an LPA is a gold mine, and it really isn't because there's so many options besides the LPA and CMAS, and it is kind of a difficult process for buyers, which is kind of opposite of why we all thought they exist. Um, but but they still are yet another option, another net to put out in the water, see what you can catch. And they can last for multiple years. All right, so we have a few different LPAs. We have master agreements, statewide contracts, software licensing programs, cooperative agreements, and CMASs or California Multiple Award Schedules. For information on all this, you'll definitely want to go to Cali Procure. I'll send an email to Daniel today after this with some resources and a PowerPoint or a PDF of this presentation. So you'll have links to Cali Procure and such. So master agreements, they're competitively bid when they're established. We advertise those. We could award it to multiple companies or vendors. And it's to establish a pre-qualified list of vendors. So it gets ahead of the curve. Buyers don't have to search. Here's the deal. May require offers. So because there might be multiple vendors, you still will have to possibly be competitive. Somebody may reach out and contact two different companies, one to see what the pricing is going to be, because a lot of people have realized you can't just go straight in and bid right at the LPA. Sometimes or the master agreement. Sometimes it's got to be sometimes you'll have to go less because your vendors are charging less or whatever else. So it's not always the case, but that is something to consider. Some examples of master agreements are like on-site confidential destruction services. So if my office needed to do some shredding, there's a master agreement that we can do a purchase order against or a task order. These master agreements do make things easier for services that are more of a pain to line up and to maintain. And so if you're a service provider, getting into a master agreement does help a lot. And it is definitely a better route of the LPAs. So like PPE, race removal services, technology stuff, temporary medical staffing services, transit processing services, processor services, security, things like that, where we might need it statewide. It's a commonly purchased thing. It is a pain to do one by one by one by one versus utilizing this company that can serve us throughout. Statewide contracts are usually for commonly purchased goods, competitively bid, single awards typically. Sometimes we'll have multiple due to maybe we need way more than any one vendor can provide. A lot of things like that. These are usually mandatory for buyers to be using, but especially these days, we have what's called SB or DVB off ramps that could be offered or an option in which buyers can circumvent utilizing a statewide contract if they can find an SB or DVB that competitively bids better than those that are on the statewide contracts. So these are not a small business or a DVBE specific kind of contracts. This is everyone, your big, massive international companies and such are on these contracts as well. So that's why we created the SBDVB on ramps or off ramps, so we could give you all a better chance and not, push you out of the game when you're quite often a better option anyways. So examples of these are asphalt, food, like a lot of stuff for like our camps or prisons, herbicides, insecticides, rainwear, roadway signs, tablets, tires, traffic cones, things that are just commonly used all over. So next, we have software licensing programs or SLPs. These are agreements that are negotiated. They are not bid out. The agreements are with the software publishers themselves. And then the publishers themselves identify authorized resellers for us to contact. We still have to solicit offers from 3 businesses. So again, if you get on that SLP list, you're still having to competitively bid. The prices are just there's a ceiling of what it can be. So it's really, again, it's one of those, yeah, you want to be tapped by a publisher as an authorized reseller, so you can get in there. But keep in mind that when you're responding to requests, you may be going up against other competitors. And I experienced this buying. I learned it one way where I hit one reseller and it was $1,000 for this one license. And then I was like, this feels really high. And then I reached out to another and it was $700. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Glad I checked. And then I got a third and it was right there at the 700 range. So that's why we also have it, because we still want to keep things competitive. You're just okay to buy this publisher as a good reseller. So on SLPs, we'll have software, maintenance and support, implementation, training, installation, SaaS or software as a service agreements. What's not available on those are standalone hardware. That's a standard contract or a different master agreement, not on the SLP, consulting and telecommunications. Those all don't fall under software. So cooperative agreements. These are between different, sometimes multi-states. So they're usually us and a couple other states to get a better buying advantage against usually a larger company. And so we'll partner up for goods and services. They're established from competitively bid master agreements, just like the other ones, but now we have multiple states involved. They do get advertised. There are resellers. So sometimes if it's a product A from a manufacturer, but they actually don't distribute, they'll list the distributors to buy from. May require offers. It depends on the language within the agreement itself. That's one of those it depends moments. And again, used by states, local entities, to where those governments can buy a little bit better, save some money for the state and taxpayers. So cooperative agreements include laboratory equipment and supplies, cloud solutions, copiers and managed print services, data communications, construction equipment, public safety communications products, services and solutions, on-demand remote interpreting and document translation, and facilities maintenance and repair and operations. So CMAS, or California Multiple Award Schedules, you apply for a schedule. A schedule is a list of goods and services that are based on the federal GSA list of schedules. We're utilizing pre-established pricing terms and conditions from the GSA, and what it does is it creates a pool of suppliers. So again, a lot of small businesses say, "Hey, I got a CMAS. I'm not getting a lot of traction." And I'm like, well, because it's still a competitive market and they just have to pick 3. And if there's a lot of vendors, then you still have to kind of market yourself. You're better if you're a certified vendor, a small business, approaching them as a small business, seeing who's bought from CMASs before. And if there's an off ramp on that CMAS for small business or DVBEs, reaching out to those buyers, letting them know they have a better option. A lot of those schedules include IT consultant services, written translation services, software maintenance and support, computer hardware and technology, office supplies, strategic planning consultation services, actuarial consulting services, that is a mouthful, automotive repair, and business administration services. What's not in there, facility planning, medical services, registered nursing, human resources, security guard services, legal services, public works projects, and engineering and architectural services, or A&E um, contracts. To apply for those, you'll go to dgs.service-now.com CMAS, which again, you'll have the PDF to reference it. And then you would create an account, you do new company registration, and then you'd apply for a CMAS following the instructions there. Information you're going to want to have ready when you do the application is the schedule you want, your business name, your fiscal vendor ID, contact information, California Secretary of State registration, which doesn't include sole props and partnerships. You're not registered in the Secretary of State. Certification information, so your SB or DVB or both numbers. Contractor's license, if applicable. Your seller's permit, if needed, and customer references, if applicable. Sometimes a CMAS will require that. So to get there, you go to Cal eProcure, which is just caleprocure.ca.gov, or I sometimes cheat and Google Cal eProcure. Cal eProcure. You click the Sell to the State button. This is the front page. And then you scroll down to the bottom to the additional resources where you'll search for state contracts or LPAs. And this is where you go to kind of look at them. There's a couple different options in that search. All right, another Q&A portion. Do we have anything, Tracey?
We have one question about the CMAS. Can someone apply for the CMAS at any time throughout the year?
They may not be purchasing at that time. And that's again, and it depends on what kind of CMAS, what kind of product, service, and such. You would want to contact the CMAS unit, which actually, again, Google's my friend for navigating a lot of DGS sites, not actually navigating internally for us either. I'll just look California CMAS on the search, and then that'll take me to DGS's CMAS units page. And then for specific questions, let's say you're not sure or you think you're blocked out because maybe they're not buying at that time or something like that. Again, I'm on the small business side of things, so we really don't have a lot. We get a lot of experience with the actual CMAS process. You just email that CMAS unit or give them a call. It's listed on the page there for you.
Okay, everyone that was interested in that, you got some homework to do. You want to go ahead and go to that website and check it out. If it does have time constraints, we got to make sure that we comply with that. If it's open to apply multiple times throughout the year and we want in on it, let's get in on it.
Yeah, every single it depends moment. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question. Someone asked, are there any limitations or drawbacks for small businesses trying to participate in the software licensing program as resellers or publishers? And the follow-on question for that is, does the small business mandate work in the SLP section?
Again, it depends on the SLP, the agreement with the publisher. As a reseller, you are being chosen by the publisher. So, disadvantage between a small business and any others, I don't know. Honestly, because if you're competitive and they like you as a reseller, that's what you want to get in. I don't think the resellers care, especially on these digital licenses. I don't think the publishers really care about like your size. It's whether or not you're able to serve and you've done good service for them. That's one of those case by case basis. Searching the LPAs and searching the SLPs for who's currently got one, which publishers. It's probably a good way to kind of farm and maybe reach out to those publishers that you could resell for or want to. That would be a route I'd consider. Officially, we do not know. I would also say as a small business, there may be an off-ramp, there may be not. that's a little trickier because the publisher is in control. So if it's not an approved publisher or a reseller by the publisher, we're gonna have a really hard time buying it because we have to then find out why the publisher didn't list them as a reseller. So really, as a small business, you're going to want your best avenue is going to be working with a publisher to become a reseller of their product. Find what the state, what what SLPs are there, and again, look at state of California DGS SLP in Google, and that'll get you the SLP page. And so you can take a look at it and go, okay, I need to be reaching out to these companies. I've not, I am reselling for them, but I'm not listed. Let's find out what I need to do to get picked by them.
Okay, and the last question was just someone asking for the website URL to be restated. Josh is going to send us the PDF to share. If we get to the end though, and I got a couple minutes, I'll get back. I'll flip back a few screens, okay? Before I give it back to you, Josh, I'd like to say hello to Stephen Novak. Hey, Stephen, thanks for logging on today. Benjamin Wynn. Hi, Benjamin. Thank you for logging on today. And Valerie Marones or Valerie Marones. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions while you're listening, please send us some notes in the chat. We'd like for you guys to be engaged. If you're going to spend time with us, get what you came for. All right? Yeah, I'm that type. All right, Josh, back to you.
Get good questions. Yeah, remember, I'm going to send an email also out to Daniel with this presentation and helpful links, including probably a lot of the ones I talk about here. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to click at it now, then you're not really paying attention to the presentation. And that's why I usually don't throw them in the chat or anything like that as we go, because I want you paying attention here. And we'll get those to you ASAP. All right. Moving on. Solicitation formats. There's a few out there. Request an RFQ or a request for quotation, IFB, invitation for bid, RFP, request for proposal, and RFO, request for offer. Yeah, a lot of times it's based off of the types of procurements and what is being procured. So an RFQ, generally used for straightforward procurements with low risk. A lot of times it's items. These are like what you'd see a purchase agreement come out as, like item quantity price, IT goods, services, non-IT goods, things like that. And the dollar threshold is generally zero to 100,000. Sometimes a little higher or lower, but it just again depends. You're gonna get really tired of hearing that. Invitation for bid, IFB, used to obtain simple, common, or routine goods and services, no discussions or negotiations, typically low cost. That's usually like those informal approaches too, where you're getting an email with a cut sheet, or you're getting email describing what you need done. Can you do it? Give us a price, yada, yada. So you're not going back and forth. Things like that. We're just going, hey, who responded with the lowest cost that we know is there's a million companies that could do this. Who reached out to did it. Typically a small business too. So an RFP, it's used to obtain complex services, professional expertise is needed. There's a much more rigorous evaluation of the qualifications of the bidders. The awards are based on a weighted criteria, so these are definitely where you go value. So primary RFP is low cost, secondary RFP is best value. So a lot of times in a lot of your conversation or a lot of your responses. This is where you're doing, bios of the staff involved, history, things like that to help paint a bigger picture in your responses. Again, it depends on the style of request or anything like that. But it's a much more, you got to really show, not only come in with what you think is going to be your best price, but also why your price is worth it, and what makes you a better bidder than the others, not by comparison, but by just presentation of yourself. So in a request for offer, it's used when purchasing against an LPA. So this is like, hey, you're on the LPA list for this. We need an offer. It's a specific transaction and a specific response or offer because it's already a known quantity of what the services are or the products are, things like that. So it's not going off the list. If we're not going within the LPA, then that's a whole different contract on its own. That was a short one. Any questions on that section?
No, sir. We're good to go.
Yeah, that one's pretty cut and dry.
For those of you small businesses out there, we love questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat. From that section, he was talking about the request for proposal. Proposal meaning how well we present ourselves to the buyer. If you haven't started like some basic skeletal work around what a proposal might look like to really talk about who your business is and what your business does, you kind of want to start building that framework before you actually need to do a proposal. So go ahead and start to collect resumes and past work experience and things like that, so that when that perfect opportunity presents, you're not starting from scratch. Okay, Josh, we're ready.
Thank you. All right. So contract readiness. This is very important. This is kind of a trap a lot of vendors, especially small businesses, will put themselves into. Um, and you don't want to because you'll kind of lose your chances for a long time. And it sometimes sinks whole companies because they stretch themselves. They're not ready for the contract. So the questions you got to ask yourself, do you meet the requirements? Do you have the financial capacity? Can you float an invoice, let's say net 90, net 120? Because we do have prompt payment rules and such, especially for small businesses, but it all depends on when the invoice is accepted. So if there's a dispute on an invoice and you're going back and forth, the clock doesn't start until it is agreed upon. So that becomes a really big deal. So, do you have the capital or inventory to be okay without payment for a prolonged period of time because there's an issue? Can you deliver on the contract? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the capital to buy the inventory ahead of time to to front stuff? Because it's all COD, cash on delivery. It's not, oh, you're ordering these things. We're going to pay you X amount. We do not pay until we receive the product or service. Or within the contract, there are, milestones where the payment can be made. So again, determine your eligibility. Do you meet the evaluation criteria, your past performance, required experience and skill sets, production capability? So on past performance, that's always a really good question I get from newer companies. Like, hey, I'm a new company. I do not have any experience as a company. I go, okay, but do you have experience working for another company that was in there? And did your work cover everything that's the expertise that is needed here? Then yes, okay. Then you state that work for that. Or you don't have a ton, you're kind of new into the industry. That's when you do work as a sub to a prime vendor. Finding contracts that are out there or solicitations that are out there where the amount of work needed is really high, and there is a percentage requirement of sub work with a certified DVB or SB. That's a lot of good ways to cut your teeth and build up that experience. So then you have that when you're responding to ones that require a little more experience as a company or things like that. Contract readiness. Don't miss out on a business opportunity by letting your SB DVB certification lapse. We reach out to you, and you just need to respond. Even if you may not have the documents ready, you respond. Don't put your head in the sand. This is one of those, you're certified until we tell you you're not. And the easiest way to be told you're not certified is by not responding when we're requesting information at any time. So keep your profile information up to date. That's all done on Cali Procure. So if phone numbers, emails change, get in there, change your profile so we know how to get a hold of you. Ensure you're certified to perform the category of work. So if you're certified as an IT company and then you're trying to do security because you saw a security opportunity, um, that's going to be a problem because you didn't certify as that kind of business. You want to reach out to our certification unit and go, okay, I'm pivoting or I've expanded, things like that. Ensure you're certified. Then the last one, make sure you're properly licensed and insured. So again, public works projects, things like that. Do you have the right contractor's license, or let's say general contracting work? Do you have your license? Do you have the proper bonding and whatnot? Which will all always be spelled out in the requests. In the solicitations, they'll have in there their bonding requirements, licensing requirements, things like that. You don't have to guess. You just have to make sure you're downloading and reading all the documents, all the information that is listed on those requests or solicitations. Oh boy, common mistakes. There's so many. Um, and this is just tip of the iceberg. Forgetting to sign all documents. A simple thing is missing one signature can be the difference of being considered or not. This is the government. We can't play around. We can't handshake agreements. We can't show favoritism, especially more and more in this digital age. There's so much of a trail that um, a lot of those practices, those, unethical practices are hard to get away with because you can do public request acts at any time, going through emails, everything to where if there's, if we're not doing things by the book, it'll be abundantly clear. So on your end, you have to make sure you are pristine. You're not doing any of these mistakes that could cost you being considered. And a lot of people get upset, and then we go, "Yeah, you didn't sign this document. You didn't submit this document that was required in the bid package." So again, that was number two. Not responding by the deadline. If it says 12:01 p.m. you submit at 12:02, you're ineligible. Your bid no longer counts if it's time stamped or whatever else for that. Ignoring historical information available for pricing, etc. So, there is historical pricing available, and you just ballpark numbers, and you're not really looking at what is actually fair and reasonable. Even though this isn't one of those contracts, that could go up against you. Um, Incorrect calculations, tax rates, etc. on documents. You know, the little details, leaving out required permits, licenses, and bonding, everything that's being asked for. Substituting items without the consent of the issuing department is massive, and it happens. Oh, I'm out of widget A from, if I'm in plumbing, it's a contract for plumbing supplies, and it's spec'd out, the contract spec'd out for the specific glue from Odie or whoever, and they're out, so I use a secondary brand. Without talking to the customer or to the buyer, you could invalidate the entire contract immediately. You need to communicate the problem, give them a solution, and then let them determine what's going on. By doing that, you may still be not able to fulfill the contract as promised, or there may be a solution for the time being because it's an extenuating circumstance. Supply chain is always what comes up to mind. Not following all directions of the solicitation, everything. Um, it always there's people come. I'll give the instruction to contact the contract manager, read these things, and they'll come back to me. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, well, you're gonna have a really hard time if my basic instructions are hard to follow and they're written down in an email. You're going to have a tough time reading everything that's required within a contract because we have to cover all our bases on our end. So there's going to be a lot of instructions and things like that to make sure you are able and committed to not only do the work, but do it right and pay attention and follow the details. You see that in the application processes and such now for jobs. There's a lot of nuances that is used to weed out applicants because with the digital age, it's so much easier to just submit resume or a response. There's a recycled content form that is required with every one of them, unless stated otherwise. But usually, it's almost every contract now not having that form, which is a very standard form now. Submitting cost proposal in same package as technical requirements. So literally, if we're asking for, hey, have your cost proposal as one doc, your technical requirement package as a second doc, and you have it all blended together, and that's not, and we were very specific of parsing them out instead of you made it one big PDF all together like a booklet, thinking, oh, this will present well, this will be, a story we're telling. Doesn't matter. We want it as separate. You could be disqualified. Tips for success. Ask questions early on. Do not wait until the last minute or after the bid due date. Biggest mistake, day before it's due, going, oh no, I have this, and this question, and they didn't get back to me. Well, 24 hours, somebody may be off for the day. That's not on us. That's on you for waiting till the last minute. Make sure you read and understand the scope of work and requirements set forth in the solicitation. Like I said before, every little detail. If your business secures a contract, you're legally bound to deliver as promised. So we're not bound to buy everything in that contract. We may shorten the services based off of need, budgets, things like that. But you are bound to deliver if we go through with it all the way through. A lot of contracts do not pay until the end of the contract. So keeping that in mind. For an example, a lump sum means the invoice will be paid after the project or phase is complete. So a lot of times on a multi-phase project, this is a lot of public work stuff. We'll pay out at phases. It'll all be spelled out in the solicitation though. All right, that one. Do we have questions?
We're starting to get some
Yeah,
questions
this
in.
this section usually does.
And I'm not quite sure if there are sections specific, but let's answer some anyway.
Fire them and we'll find out quick.
All right. So a attendee says that they've had a working relationship with the university system in the past, and they're certified, and they'd like to start working with the university system again. What's the best first steps to get in with that
Went till the
particular
end.
part?
It has nothing. Let's save that to the end. That has nothing to do with this section.
Okay. All right. So we'll get them. We're coming back to you. Okay. Someone asked, can they be certified? Can a business be certified for different work categories?
Well, if you're like your DBA is A&A trucking and then you're trying to do IT work, we're going to look at, okay, what's going on here? Are you actually subbing? It's going to go under scrutiny. You can be certified for it. It's in your description. You're putting your description and such. And if our certification analysts think it's a little fishy or like this is weird, they're going to contact you and have you kind of show your capability sometimes. Like, are you really able to do IT or do you know a guy? And you're going to sub to them and add that onto it so you can get these contracts. Is that really what your business is? And then if so, okay, prove it. Show us your website. Show us what you've done that is in the IT realm then. So we don't think a trucking company, because otherwise a trucking company probably isn't in the IT business.
Understood. And then the last question that we have so far, are there any best practices or preferred formats that can help our proposal stand out to the contract reviewers?
No, I can't. That's something I definitely can't and won't answer on because that's kind of coaching on that. And that could be possibly something that can make or break a contract. So I don't want to give you wrong information. Everything I always say, like resumes, everybody's different when they look at it. Pay attention to the instruction and detail and see if you can kind of glint some information out of it. This is also why like organizations like the Apex Accelerators who specialize in government contractings and SBDCs, they're there to help you kind of figure those things out. They're free. And a consultation going, hey, I'm going for this. These are the questions you ask them who are touching your side of things way more. Again, I'm in small business. I don't handle contracting. I educate. So I wouldn't know that, nor would you want any information on that from me anyways. Because, again, my preferences may be different. So yeah, if you're not able to, or you don't feel like you're getting good information, hit another source. Reach out to, you know, people here, like, Al and Daniel, who can definitely help, also point you in a direction, or someone who's may specialize in helping you out more on contracting. So, make sure you're reaching out to resources. That's where you're going to want to utilize resources, because us government employees, we do not want to be called in on a public request act order, or be called into court because we gave some advice 5 years ago about your proposal and you lost it because you did something we said. So that's kind of, I would reach out to those organizations on the private side of things.
Okay, we don't have any other questions right now.
Cool. Keep on. Cuff, or commercially useful function. You perform cuff if your business is executing a distinct element of the work. So cuff is good. Keep that in mind, because we'll get into bad cuff, non-compliance, after performing, managing, and supervising the work as you bid. Performing work that is normal for the firm's business services or function. So again, trucking company doing IT for IT contract, that's not within cuff. So, it's not a spelt out thing, but it's something that may go under evaluation and determination that you're not in compliance. Negotiating price, determining quality and quantity, ordering, installing, and making payments. You want to be a part of all those things in the process. So sometimes as a reseller, that is the service you're giving, is you are reselling, you're getting all the pricing figured out and such, and then getting it to them, to the customer, versus, being a pass-through, taking the money, the publisher directly gives the licenses, things like that. And you pay or you tell them, yeah, go for it. And then you pay the distributor, or the publisher. There's a lot of different things like that. So not being a pass-through is cuff. Not subcontracting a portion of the work greater than expected by industry practices. So again, if you're a landscaper and you're having landscaping company A do 90% of the work as a sub, well, you're supposed to be able to do 100% as a landscaping, maybe 10 or 20, because you do not specialize in this special trenching that's needed. That makes sense. But, 90%, well, no, that company could have done all the work and could have been the contract winner. So with that, you do not perform cuff if your business is being used as a pass-through, as I said, not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid. So you have to always spell out if you're utilizing a sub. On those contracts, there will be language for that. No longer used to provide the goods and services listed in the initial bid response. Sometimes that's out of your control, and you have to just own it. And you go, hey, my supply chain evaporated. My distributors are out of business. I cannot source your product anymore. I cannot get this work done. Or, hey, I lost my entire crew. I'm going out of business. You tell us ahead of time, and we can work. You tell your contract manager ahead of time, and they can work on, okay, we're going to find a solution, or we're going to find a replacement, things like that. There are things there. Hiding, not communicating, things like that could lead to some ramifications. So we've got some resources that I've talked about already, but again, they'll be in an email that I sent. We have the SBDCs, or Small Business Development Centers. You'll just go to their main sites or Google them, and they'll point you to one that's within your region. Apex accelerators. These are for established businesses. Keep in mind, actually, SBDCs are coming out with programs for businesses that are existing and doing contracting, working on capability statements, things like that. So don't rule SBDCs out if you're not new. Apex accelerators, they focus on government contracting, much more on the federal side. So if you think you're not getting the help you need on the state side from your accelerator, make sure you're definitely talking to an SBDC as well. It's all free, no cost. We other entities fund them, so they can be there for you. Now, as scores for newer businesses, it's um it's a group of retired executives doing business mentorship. Really good in the beginning. Like I have idea or I'm trying to do this. Little just nuggets of wisdom that could come in handy. All right, so in review, we've gone over how the state buys, the different acquisition methods, leverage purchase agreements, solicitation formats, commercially useful function or CUF, and what our resources are for you. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. You'll see events, coverage, maybe information that might be helpful. There's a link to our website that'll also be helpful. Um, for more educational opportunities, we have more classes. This QR code will take you to our list of events and trainings. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent site to bookmark, to just jump in every week or two because we're always adding events and things. And they may be in your neck of the woods. And you're always like, hey, I see there's this small business thing. I didn't know about it. This will tell you if we're going and they tell us to advertise it, which is a high percentage, it's going to be listed on this event page. So it's very important. I use it sometimes to just kind of remind me of what's going on out there all over. So when I'm talking to people, it's actually easier for me to digest than our tracker on the back end. So this is very helpful. Bookmark it. You're an existing business. You're already certified with us. Have you had a one-on-one consultation with us? If the answer is no, I don't care how many contracts you've landed. I highly recommend doing it. I would pick the update Cali Procure profile settings. Finding contract opportunities, we're going to help you navigate, but what was covered in this class is about the extent of it. We might point you through Cali Procure, but a lot of it's just you go to your solicitation, do your homework, or you go through our past purchasing and do your homework and cold call. Um, so we can help you at least make sure you're on the searchability side, but you're updating your profile. People are finding you better when they're looking for those direct bids, or people can reach out to you for sub work, things like that as well. All right. Thank you all for participating. Now is the time for general questioning since I was so mean and pushed you all to the back. So what
Which
do you
one would
got
you
for me?
like? How about we deal with the working with the university system? What are the first best steps?
If you're certified, that good, making sure that is up to date and all your information is up to date in that, and then reaching out to them. There's not um, reaching out to the buyers there. Good old, marketing 101.
Do they have
Making sure
a small business advocate?
uh, they're not in the business advocate program like we are.
I see.
Typically, every university will have a program or something. So looking for that, I would search that university and look up small business on Google, or let's say it's UC. Also looking at the UC president's site as well, seeing if they have like a small business program administrator or whatever else. They don't follow under the state small business advocate side. I'm going to include the link for the state small business advocates. So you can see that list as well, and those are who you would also contact with your capability statement and things like that. They're kind of a conduit between buyers and sellers. They are not going to pitch you to buyers or pitch, you know, department wide. They're there. You're informing them of you being there, being certified, having these services, and if somebody comes to them or they're asked to find vendors in this, you know, private sector, um, then they'll go, oh yeah, I have 5 capability statements from these people that are landscapers. So keep that in mind. That's not a company the advocates are not who you will do a sales pitch to because they're getting contacted day in and day out by thousands and thousands of vendors. So keep that in mind. And so yeah, You make sure your certification's up to date. Make sure your Cali Procure profile, because the UC systems and the CSUs and all that, they're also utilizing Cali Procure to find certified small businesses. They're utilizing our certifications. If they have, some of the UCs have kind of a certification registry of their own, making sure you're putting yourself on that as well. And like usually the option is you'll give your SB cert or DVB certification number, and that will get you marked as certified within it. So seeing what their programs are. So doing a lot of homework is the first step. Finding out how, like, what avenues are there for you within those systems. Yeah, there's not a playbook to anything.
Okay, we have one more question. The person asked, the situation is they are a DVBE that was listed as a sub on a prime contract. They're asking how is actually using the DVBE managed, and what is the process if they aren't used? Like, how does that move? How can they move that forward or let someone know?
So you posted your ad on, you did the right thing. You went to the solicitation, saw that. You posted a sub looking for a prime advertisement. There's also prime looking for a sub. If there's a pre-bid meeting, um, attend that. That is how you're not only going to meet prime you think you want to work with, you're going to meet all the primes interested in buying. And that's where you can go, okay, hi, I provide these services. I'm a DVBE from there. Um, if you are selected by the prime, because again, you're not contracting with the state at that point. You're contracting with the prime contractor. So, their requirements, their usage, things like that, that's on them. They may have more requirements than just what's required within this solicitation. That's going to be for you to determine. So again, kind of back to marketing is reaching out to those primes. If you know X amount of companies and their names that work on get these contracts, you need to be reaching out. Hey, I posted an ad on for this solicitation. I'm just following up. Here's with further information, my capability statement, things like that. Trying to get to if they're really big primes, they usually have a small business unit or a procurement unit that you can reach out to that will maybe advocate or point you in the right direction to the contract manager for that solicitation, or that work.
The follow-on question was if the prime contract had a requirement for DVBE participation, and they were listed but not used. I guess that's what the person is trying to
Doesn't
say.
matter. There's 1,000 other DVBEs listed in Cali Procure. They do not have to pick who put the advertisement on the solicitation. So for some reason, if you were not selected, they felt there was other companies they'd rather use. So again, this goes back to marketing. If you're not selected by the prime that was awarded it, you need to be talking to the prime and finding out why am I not one of your on your preferred vendor list. How do I get on your preferred vendor list as a certified DVBE?
I think the person was saying that they were actually submitted with the prime. The prime won, and they were the DVBE.
Well, then they got it. They need to talk to the prime and find out their work. If the prime's not utilizing them, then maybe they swapped it out. I don't know. I don't know that process.
Okay.
All roads end at the prime contractor in these situations. There's nothing on our side that we can do or want to know of. We're just looking at who's being used, who was supposed to be used, and matching, and we're looking at labor stuff and things like that. So you need to talk to the prime that you were in the solicitation with, and find out why, if they got selected and you're not being used. I don't even know how that works and how that's possible.
All right. Well, we don't have any other question, Josh. So thank you very, very much for sharing the information you did with us. We love third level, right, everyone? Third level on how to contract with the state of California. We're trying to get better and more proficient at this so that we can pursue more contracts with the state of California. Thank you so
Key is
much, Josh.
to, sorry, I was going to say, let me build on that real quick. The key is demystification of processes and all this. It's a pain in the rear, no matter what type of contract, every process, everything is always a pain. So hopefully this gives you some demystification and takes some of the scariness away. To just, okay, it's just a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work, and hopefully that work is worth it. So keep that in mind. The resources that are there, the information is there. You just have to read and really go through it. There's no fast track on any of these.
That's the hot tip of the day. There is no fast track on this. As a small business owner, if this is what you want to do, if you want to add the state of California to your client list, there's absolutely no way you can use every piece of information that we've provided throughout the entire series at once, right? It's kind of like bonding, right? You can't be a bonding superstar after one webinar, not even after two or three, right? You have to use the bits and pieces, become familiar with those, add a few more bits and pieces. Now you're doing twice as many bits and pieces until you get to the point where you have some confidence, and then you know where to go for resources. Josh left us with some entities that we can reach out to for help. We're always here to help one another. That's what Ops for Vets is about. And we want to see you prosper. So hopefully this series that we brought to you over the 2024, 2025 is making it a whole lot less scary, getting you a whole lot more excited, and actually helping you increase the number of times you pursue, which theoretically is going to result in more wins. The better you get at it, the more you should be winning. Before we wrap up, I'd like to highlight again the 14th Annual Veteran and Small Business Trade Show coming up in October. I want to remind you that you got to be registered for the trade show so that you can access the Cal eProcure Clinic. That's a one-on-one opportunity. Don't miss your chance to have that one-on-one consultation with a DGS outreach specialist during the summit. Don't miss that. Put it on your calendar now. Go ahead and register now. Registration is open for the trade show. Early bird pricing may still be available. We'd also like to invite any veteran business owners out there to join the community. Join Ops for Vets now through our lifetime membership program so that we can be featuring your business like we did Kelly's business today. And then the last thing before we call this, wrap it up and put a bow on it is we have a show coming up next week on the 26th. It's called Just the Facts, Ma'am. I'm one of the co-hosts, and my other co-host is Jane Babcock. It's where we talk about veterans benefits and how to research them, pursue them, so you'll know what's out there for you. Because if you are going to participate in the DVBE program, you need to be rated at a 10% disability rating. If that's not something that you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, or you have a veteran business owner friend that hasn't gone through that process of getting rated, please put June 26th on your calendar. It's an evening event because we want to make sure that you can take advantage of this event as a DVBE business owner. And if you need some help getting the rating, we'll take care of you in the next event. Again, thank you all for attending. Kelly, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Woo! Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for being a lifetime member. Josh, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for a great presentation. And to all my attendees and folks that are here every month, it's always nice to see you. All right, everybody go and have a prosperous day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You see him? He's just as dead as we are. Now you listen to me, youngster.
All right.
Someday you're going to wake up fighting on a beachhead.
Thank you,
You
guys.
pray to God some guy doesn't get
We're good,
killed
right?
because of your foolishness.
You're right.
You join the
Yeah.
Marine Corps, Owens.
Bye-bye.
We don't deal in pity and sympathy.
I try.
Try. We don't try in this Marine Corps. We either do or we don't. We don't straddle any fences. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Every time you make one of these little mistakes of yours, you're going to turn around, and I'll be standing right there.
Needing money or anything, you know. Man, I got over like a fat rat when I got out, man. I got my school money coming from the government once a month. I got my veterans check coming once a month. I got my 50% medical check coming to me for the rest of my life.